Are you nervous or are you anxious? Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today I am answering your personal questions that you submitted to me. And in today's video, we're going to distinguish the difference between being nervous and being anxious. So without further ado, let's find out. Okay, so before I go into my own personal experiences about having anxiety, I'm going to give you guys the definition of anxiety and being nervous. So the definition of anxiety is a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. And if you guys notice, they actually have the word nervousness in the definition of anxiety. Now, the definition of nervous is easily agitated or alarmed, tending to be anxious, highly strung. And also notice that the term anxious is in the definition of nervous as well. So as you can see, a lot of people use these terms interchangeably, almost as if they're the same. Like, oh, they are anxious, they are nervous, vice versa. So I understand that these terms could be quite similar, and that's why people get them confused a lot. But in reality, there is a difference. Being nervous is normal. Everybody feels nervous. But actually having anxiety is a mental illness. And before I go any further, I would just like to say that people experience anxiety in different ways. There are different types of anxiety. So even if I talk about it generically, that does not mean I'm talking about all types of anxiety disorders. So you might experience something differently than what I talk about. But the examples that I give in this video will revolve more around how I feel and things I've gone through. Okay, so let's start off with the characteristics of being nervous. Let's just say you have a big test tomorrow. Usually people would feel really nervous for that test because they don't want to fail. They want to do well on this test. So they will study a ton like the night before. And because you know you have a test the next day, you might not get as much sleep, you might bite your fingernails, and you might feel a little bit queasy before the test. Again, people react differently to being nervous, but those are just a few common things. And for another example, maybe you have to present tomorrow. You have a huge PowerPoint to present to the class. You also might feel nervous because, you're not really good at public speaking, but you're still gonna do it anyway. You just have to keep rehearsing and rehearsing till you get it right. And again, you might feel a little bit clammy and a little bit queasy before you do your presentation. But again, this is just nervousness and you go up and do it anyway. Another example is you might be in band or you might be a performer and tomorrow you have a big concert and you have a solo in that concert. You might feel a little bit nervous before having to give a solo in front of a big audience. That is also nervousness because you're thinking you might mess up, and again, you might feel a little bit queasy before it. I know there's other examples, but all of this is nervousness. Now let's get on to actually anxiety. I'm not here to diagnose anybody. I don't want to say if you do this, you have this. Don't take this video that way. I'm just saying that these could be signs and this is the difference. So basically how you might know it's anxiety is when normal things become more challenging and they start to overpower you and you feel like you really can't do normal everyday to day things without feeling scared or nervous. And when you feel this anxiety taking over you and controlling your life, that's when it becomes a problem. So that's why anxiety is more coined as a mental illness. And again, as I already said, there are different types of anxiety disorders like general anxiety disorder, social anxiety, and the list goes on. But I'm just gonna keep my examples pretty generic because this video is not about the different types of anxiety. So I'd just like to mention that having some anxiety is normal, it's good. It's kind of like that fight or flight reaction. So don't think that if you have a little bit of anxiety, it's like you have this disorder and it's bad. That's not true. As I said before, when you feel like this anxiety is controlling your life and making you not do day-to-day things easily, that's when it becomes more of an issue and you might want to seek some help. And that is exactly what I did. In my third semester of college, I went to go get counseling and it really helped with my anxiety. So because I have struggled with anxiety in my life, and I still do to this day, I have written some things down in my notes app that kind of summarizes my anxiety. So I said, in a nutshell, things and activities others find easy and second nature on a day-to-day basis is more of a challenge to me because fear and uncertainty is present. I get so frustrated with myself sometimes because the simplest things can seem difficult to manage, and while others are flying through it, I'm pushing through it and trying to improve every day while trying to not get down on myself. It's exhausting, especially when I'm trying to cover up any trace of having anxiety in situations and playing it off with jokes and humor. So you might be thinking, wow, that's a lot. I don't really understand some of that, but I also listed some examples of my anxiety in my notes as well. So the first thing I listed was, at the end of the day, I'll overthink overthink everything I might have said or did, and if it was good enough or if it looked or sounded stupid. In the past, this led me to text someone and either apologize or ask questions, but I've gotten a handle on that. The next thing is, I'm thinking more about what I'm gonna say next or stuff in the future or past rather than the present. I think in what ifs and would've, should've, could've. I'll try to deflect from my anxiety by cracking jokes or justifying for why I did something and passing it off as something funny or purposeful. I'm afraid to come across as looking stupid in front of others, so sometimes I'll avoid doing the things that cause me that fear. This is more revolving around social anxiety. So, oh my god, this sounds so stupid, but like if I go in a grocery store and I don't know how to do something, I will avoid it entirely to not look stupid in front of somebody. Most people would just try to figure it out and learn, but I'm just like, nope, I don't want to look stupid. I'm just not even gonna figure it out. Since I don't want to feel that anxiety, I end up just not buying anything even though I want to. That's what I mean when anxiety starts to control your life. I also listed, when I get nervous, I'll all of a sudden get more chatty and ask questions or try to play it off as I'm confident, but I'm really trying to just distract myself from feeling nervous. Switching from hanging out all day with someone to being all alone in my quiet room can be too sudden of an environmental switch and vice versa. And that will lead me sometimes to do a lot of overthinking, and that will lead to negative thoughts sometimes. My anxiety can make me feel very clingy and emotionally attached to a particular person if I've put my trust into them and if they make me feel happy and safe. This can lead to obsessive thoughts about a person. We could hang out all day and I could still miss you and want your arms wrapped tightly around me at night to make me feel like everything's gonna be alright. Now, okay, that one was a little bit cheesy and maybe a little bit deep. It was kind of embarrassing to read, but all of these are pretty genuine, and I felt all of these things. I impulse text. If we're having a smooth convo and you suddenly disappear out of nowhere, I might think I said something wrong or said too much, but in reality, they probably just got up to do something because that's normal. So in that case, that was me now thinking logically. My head will make up false scenarios of real situations that make me deep spiral into overthinking, loneliness, and guilt. Feeling like I'm responsible for a situation going badly gets me very anxious and worried, so I'll often let others take charge because I'll think their decisions will be better anyway. So this one kind of summarizes me feeling like I'm not good enough to lead a situation. Nobody would like my idea. Everybody else's idea is better. They would do it better. That is self-deprecation. I especially start to feel more anxiety in crowded places, unfamiliar places, food joints, and stores. Paying for things gets me. Yeah, so this one might be a common thing for a lot of people, but if I'm in an unfamiliar place, somewhere I've never been before, especially if it's crowded, like let's say a food place, a restaurant, I actually start to feel very anxious, and you could actually call this a trigger. Like I know as soon as I walk in there, I'm going to feel different. I'm gonna feel a lot more tense and anxious. Like I'm almost preparing myself for it. So me preparing myself for my anxiety actually gets me anxious. I also say, I'll take a lot of things personally and think things are because of me. I can be my own worst enemy and blame myself in situations that sometimes don't even exist. Now this is toxic thinking, when you're making up these scenarios in your head that don't even exist, stuff that might happen in the future. Again, it's very toxic and you can manipulate your own mind with these thoughts. I'll apologize more than I really need to, even though nothing's really my fault, but I guilt trip myself. Even if there's an event that's happening in a month or two, I'll be thinking of it and worrying about it already. Now this is a big one for me. Most people worry about stuff that's gonna happen in a week, maybe a few days. And I don't mean like a wedding, because obviously you need to prepare for that. I mean just like something that's just planned, like something little. Like I'll think about it a lot and worry about it even though it's 2 months away. I compare myself to others way too often. If they can do something better than me or come across as more capable or confident, I feel jealous, I put myself down, and I feel more anxiety. Now, I don't know if this one's really an example of having anxiety, but this causes me to have anxiety. This jealousy and me comparing myself to people, because then I get down on myself. I'll need reassurance from others to feel a bit more comforted, feeling the need of validation and opinion from others. And I also say, usually I'd rather stay home than go anywhere with friends because home is my comfort zone. A lot of the times when people have anxiety, they have this certain comfort place or comfort zone, and if that comfort place is your house, sometimes you never want to leave it. Like when people text you saying, do you want to hang out? Do you want to go here? Do you want to go there? You kind of want to, because you like your friends, you want to hang out with your friends, but your comfort place is your house and you don't want to leave it. You feel like as soon as you step out of your house and go somewhere or hang out with somebody, something bad could happen. Again, these are the woulda, shoulda, coulda statements or the what ifs, and that's a huge part of anxiety. Again, there are probably more examples that I have, more examples that I could list, but the video would be way too long. Maybe you guys could say some down in the comments. But that is pretty much it for today. If you guys related to this or if you have other things to list, just put that down below. And again, this video wasn't to diagnose anybody. If you really think you have anxiety, maybe ask your doctor. And if you're new to this channel, I usually don't make videos like this, but I'm just doing this personal segment to help people. But like always, I make a new video whenever I want, so like and subscribe. All my social media is down in the description, and I will see you guys later. Bye.